Good morning, everyone. Another day, another press release from Southern Cross. Here we have a drill hole press release. It's been a few weeks since we have, so we're reporting a lot of holes here. Nine drill holes. They're all contextual, so it made sense to report them all together. Basically, two fans of drill holes, and we say a fan, it means all drilled from the same point at different angles. And we're producing fans from Rising Sun Upper and a fan from Rising Sun Lower. So 9 holes. 4 of the 9 holes had cumulatively greater than 100-gram-meter intersections. So lots of gold, lots of vein sets. Hole 100, which was one of the 9, had 11 different vein sets. So there's many results. You can read them individually in the release. The vein sets always have a high grade core and a lower grade selvage. That's what we're seeing. The veins are anywhere between 2 to 20 meters wide, depending on cutoff. That's what we're seeing. And what these holes are, they're all drilled within big gaps in the project, either up and down dip in veins. And there's many veins that we intersect with these holes, or along the strike of the veins. And so that's what they were all planned to do. Some of the holes actually drilled beyond the strike extent of the vein. So they actually cut off the veins, if you like, and they're 30, 40, 50 meters in the upper part of Rising Sun. They get to 100 meters long in the lower parts. So it was really the building blocks of drilling out a deposit is what we're doing, filling in big gaps. There was a 200-meter gap between hole 77B and hole 82, and that was hole 100, and it hit the mineralization where we expected. Actually, the holes are all starting to continue to build that predictability and continuity of both geology and the mineralization itself. So they're all very encouraging. Hit gold where we'd hoped to hit, and almost hitting to the point where we predicted veins. So a great set of data. I'd say it's more like the workhorse of drilling out a project. You want to see that continuity, you want to see that predictability, and you want to see that grade continue, and that we did. So a very big tick. So this result, 9 holes, comes on the back of the last 2 weeks where we had the 3 releases that really established where the project was at. Number 1, the metallurgy. We have free gold plus 80% native gold or free gold. So that's a huge tick. We established essentially an economic flow sheet with gravity and flotation as the pathway forward. So number 1. Number 2 was we put out a great release. It addressed how the veins hang together. So with the continuity of this mineralization is informed by thousands of structural measurements that we have when we orientate the drill core. It's informed by 50 years of mining and the stopes that we've mapped. It's mapped by the predictability, which these holes have helped. The continuity is informed by the geostatistics. So the big number is the big measure is a coefficient of variation. If you're in a project where the coefficient of variation is less than 1, you basically got like coal or water. Each point relates to each other point very well. If you're above 5, you've got a very erratic project, and you want to be under 2 generally in resource projects because it shows, 1, consistency and of grade, so non-nuggety nature of gold, and it also shows that the model is standing up to the rigor of what is actually in the ground. Where we have Ventus drilling in this project, which is Apollo, we've got a CV, or a coefficient of variation, at 1.5. So that informs us around the continuity also. And then, of course, all that led to the exploration target that we put out there. This exploration target was wireframed. The grades were cut between 27 and 68, I think were the exact numbers between the low and high case. They had those uppercuts. The continuity of the veins were only extended to where we'd hit them at the lowest levels in some of them, and that was 1 to 1.6 million ounces at basically 7 to 10 grams. And there's lots of caveats that you should read below here on the screen around that exploration target, but it just showed the start of what we've got. Basically, over only 600-meter footprint, we've got mines and very high-grade drill holes along strike from there, and it's about 2/3 more of the area. So 1/3 of the way to the drilling out the area. So you can do your extrapolation work that if it continues, and we know it's getting better at depth, we're onto something very significant and very rare here. And again, these holes all fill into that exploration target about drilling it and bringing it into more levels of confidence and demonstrating that continuity and predictability. So there's always news flow from Southern Cross. We've got 4 rigs at site drilling away. We've got lots of holes in the lab, and so be prepared as always for lots of news flow. The project's only got better and better. If you look at the way the progression of our average grades have progressed, you know, have a look at our presentation. They're only getting better and better. So stay tuned for more results. So lots happening under the ground as we continue to make this bigger and bigger, remembering our 3 strategies to demonstrate the grade, and we know how the grade is partitioning through this project now to a much greater understanding so we can target those higher grade areas. We know it's getting better at depth. We know it's getting better in the hanging wall and footwall of the dike into the altered sediment. So the rails of the ladder, if you like, the internal rails, we can follow the internal rails where there's better and higher grades. And then also to demonstrate volume, this is only getting bigger and bigger. And like we said, we've only drilled about 1/3 of that key footprint, let alone the 9 kilometers. So we've only drilled 1 of the 10 kilometers with any detail. 9 kilometers is essentially untested. We've got early stage drilling that demonstrated high grade gold out in the bush, if you like. And that's the district scale nature. Big systems have big footprints. So that's all that's happening under the ground. On top of the ground, we've been very busy. Nick Mead, our corporate development manager, and myself have just finished a round the world trip talking to a lot of our investors, a lot of funds and high net worth people through North America and Europe. Huge support for Victorian gold, and remembering that Fosterville and Costerfield, the 2 analogues in our backyard, are owned by Canadian companies, and it's the Canadians who have actually benefited more than the Australian market by a long shot, because they saw all the benefit that Fosterville, which when it was out of the 3 or 4 of the last 6 years was the highest grade gold mine on earth, lowest ASIC, and one of the top 10 producers, that created over $10 billion of market capital growth in the companies that was in, and the excitement is here that we've got that as an analog to try and geologically learn from and replicate. So that's where we're going. So we've also going to a number of conferences next week, the RIU in Fremantle, and then we have the Victorian Exploration Conference here later in February, amongst others. And then we've got the PDAC, a very big event, the world's largest conference actually for mining and exploration in Toronto in early March. So telling the story, educating people, demonstrating how this thing hangs together, how we're actually advancing with the permitting in Victoria, and creating a very rare high-grade asset.